Are Venezuelan gangs taking over Dallas?
Gente, he pensado invadir una casa en United States.
Dallas?
Ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla.
What on earth is going on in America these days? There are a few TikTok and YouTube videos claiming that the same dangerous Trens de Aragua gang, TDA, made up of allegedly the most violent and insane criminals from Venezuelan prisons, that is terrorizing Aurora, Colorado, going from one apartment door to the next, busting down doors with machetes, and reportedly even invading a part of South Chicago now, not far from the most hardened Chi-Town gang members. Yes, that one has overrun an apartment complex right here in far north Dallas, in the southeast intersection of Dallas Tollway and Bush Tollway on a street called Haverwood, they're saying. Southern Plano is just north of there, and East Carrollton is just west, which has some low-income, kind of rough apartments off Rosemead and Midway, if you know the area. But this side of the intersection, where this Versailles Apartments is apparently, though lower median incomes, is a soft target. Now, I pass through this area regularly when I go to Addison or downtown Dallas, but I haven't stopped through this section of North Dallas in a minute. I've been to Cafe Nubia and GVO recently, and Google Maps shows there is a temporary Venezuelan eatery at the northwest intersection of Rosemead and Midway. But the big question is, how much of the rumors are true? One TikToker pointed to the Versailles Apartments on Google Maps as the alleged problem complex. Now, it might be true they have Venezuelan residents, but the only source of the rumors came from a few bad reviews on Google Maps. I clicked on the profiles of each reviewer, and only 2 of them seemed like credible reviews. 2 of the others were restricted, so you couldn't see who was behind it. Yet another 2 reviews seemed like they were just copying what they heard, because when you look at the profiles, it seems like they're reviewing multiple apartment complexes as if they live at these other ones as well at the same time. I scanned other sources of news, but none confirmed any criminal activity related to the TDA gang. Now, that's not to say there is no activity, as the news media has a history of blacking out certain news stories for various dark, sinister reasons. But in this case, there's not enough evidence like you saw in Aurora, Colorado, New York, or Chicago. I suspect we might be witnessing some anti-Venezuelan bias, which is why we have to be absolutely accurate about not to confuse good Venezuelans just trying to take care of their families versus TDA gang members who should be handled by federal, state, and local officials as taxpayers expect. Now, before I continue, I can't stress enough how important it is not to confuse these bad guys with the majority of decent, respectable Venezuelans. I personally know some, and even briefly dated a very attractive businesswoman from Venezuela not long after my divorce. We, our community of all people, should know how the tricky media can arouse anger against a whole group of people using fake news or exaggerated news. Remember what happened to us 100 years ago. Not all Venezuelan prisoners are members of this violent gang, which is why I'm suspicious how our entire country of at least 150 million adults is being made to fear perhaps a few hundred or more violent gang members. Recall that only a handful of gang members were shown in those viral videos coming out of Aurora, Colorado. Remember, Malcolm X gave us the game about how the media can make good people look bad and bad people look good. And I'll also add here that they can make one bad guy look like a million bad guys. Now, there are unconfirmed reports that Venezuela greenlighted the release of these gang members from prisons and instructed them to go to the U.S., never to return there. Crime, interestingly, has drastically decreased in Venezuela as a result. See? Venezuela also refuses to accept any of these gang members back in their country, essentially forcing the U.S. to keep them. But isn't this rather suspicious, given that when a U.S. citizen goes overseas and commits an act of treason against the U.S., the U.S. can revoke their citizenship, leaving them stateless. Why did Mexico and other nations let them just pass right on through, coming straight to our border? In 2023, Venezuela only had 27,000 prison inmates. We can assume not all of these are TDA gang members. So are we being made to fear a smaller group of gang members by design? Who benefits from fear-mongering? Official local news reports over the past year do show that the TDA gang has a presence here in DFW. Here's what we know about the rise and expansion of the dangerous Trens de Aragua gang. In recent months, reports have surfaced about the Venezuelan gang, Trens de Aragua, making inroads into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This notorious criminal organization, originally formed in Venezuela, has been linked to various illicit, unspeakable, and very violent activities, raising concerns among local residents and law enforcement agencies. Trens de Aragua, known for its involvement in trafficking of substances and people, extortion, and snatching people up and throwing them in vans, has expanded its operations beyond Venezuela's borders. The gang's presence in the northern part of Dallas has been confirmed by local authorities, who are now working in collaboration with federal agencies to address the potential threats posed by this criminal group. The gang's rise can be traced back to the economic collapse in Venezuela, which worsened after the suspicious death of President Hugo Chavez in 2013. Keep that in mind. Under the leadership of Nicolas Maduro, the current president, the country faced severe economic hardship, political instability, and widespread corruption. These conditions created fertile ground for criminal organizations like TDA to thrive. The economic crisis in Venezuela has been attributed to a combination of internal mismanagement and external pressures. U.S. sanctions, particularly targeting Venezuela's oil industry, and Britain's reneging on the country's gold deposits in London, significantly impacted the country's economy. These sanctions aim to pressure the Venezuelan government to restore democratic processes. Save democracy, remember that? And address human rights abuses, as if we don't have those here as well. In response, countries like Russia and China intervened, providing financial aid, investments, and political backing to the Maduro regime. The external support helped the government maintain some level of stability despite the ongoing economic challenges. The expansion of the TDA gang into our DFW area has raised alarms among many of us. The gang's violent methods and involvement in various criminal activities pose a significant threat to community safety. The Dallas Police Department, along with federal agencies, is actively working to combat the influence of TDA and mitigate any associated risks. Now, to conclude, the presence of TDA in our area is a stark reminder of the far-reaching impact of Venezuela's economic collapse and the complex interplay of international diplomacy. As local and federal authorities continue their efforts to address this growing threat, residents are urged to stay informed and vigilant. For more detailed information and updates, following local news and law enforcement announcements is recommended. And as always, subscribe to this channel as we give you the inside scoop without filters, straight from the streets. Until the next video, take care, brothers and sisters.